It's happy hour. Dig.
Happy Friday, Justin.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah? Are you bringing the heat?
Yeah.
Oh, you're bringing the heat.
Man. I'm bringing all the heat.
I
I'm
knew you
bringing
were
all the
bringing the heat.
smoke.
Yeah. Yeah. Man,
There we go.
we really like that's when you're rubbing two sticks and you start to see smoke and you freak out and then it's like, oh.
Exactly.
Man, last Friday before the election.
It is. Before, it's pretty much all baked in at this point. We just need to know exactly what we baked.
Yeah. What we baked is whatever it was, we left it in the oven too long and it turned into an old white man. That's the one thing we know for sure is he's very old and very white and very much a man.
I feel like since 2016,
we left it in the oven
candidates.
so long that it's almost certainly been accused of sexual harassment.
I feel like we had last election, we had two old candidates and people were like, oh my God, they're so old. And then this time we have older candidates. So like, I feel like we can push 100 next in 2024. Like I want both the candidates to be over 100.
I mean, I want to skip right to the part where we have computer algorithms where they govern based on their history of tweets, and basically AI interpolates what they probably would decide about any policy decision. So it's like, actually, once we do that, then you could literally like imagine any human being versus an AI built on the writings of Teddy Roosevelt. So it's virtual Teddy Roosevelt versus any human being.
Like that would be like, we would like go to that as a first draft and then like maybe make the decisions beyond that, or
No. I mean, quite literally, like you can either vote for a human, let's say Kamala Harris, let's say Elizabeth Warren, let's say Ted Cruz, let's say, like you could vote for any human for president, or you could vote for an OpenAI bot that all we did is feed it Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln. You like, and it's like this OpenAI bot.
So wait, does that then also campaign? So the bot campaigns.
Well, what they do is, I mean,
just a
humans show up and say, "Hey, it's us, the engineers behind Teddy Bot." People want to know what Teddy Bot's position on various issues are. Let's run it in. What do you got?
No, if it would have to have a like, yes, they would be asking it the questions, or you would just be an open like, hey, hit it up on Twitter and it'll like answer questions. But like, you would have to campaign with it.
Well,
like,
that's
like, so that
sorry.
would be
That's what I thought I was describing. Is from city to city, they show up and they say, "Hey, it's me, lead engineer on whatever. Hey, it's me, the more charismatic other half of the two-person team, and we're here to present to you Teddy Bot. Teddy Bot is fueled by all of Teddy Roosevelt's writings. Who's got a question for Teddy Bot? Hello, it's me, person from the town. Teddy Bot, I'd like to ask you one of the 500 questions that you always get asked at every one of these events. Beep, bop, boop, it's me, Teddy Bot. Here's a pre-programmed answer for your question. That's very impressive and better than Ted Cruz."
Yeah, no, totally. I think it's probably closer than we think.
Well, I mean, not only closer to existing, but closer to victory. Like, certainly this year.
I don't know if it would be victory. I mean, well, I don't know. I mean, people are just angry. I don't know if a robot would make people happy. I feel like a robot would make people more angry. But then again, I don't know if anything would make anybody happy now. I feel like everybody is just kind of upset about everything, and that's just going to be what it is.
A robot would have the advantage of being the only choice that is a complete rejection of humanity. Like, if you are so angry that you want to reject all humans, there's only one way to vote. Actually, the best way is to not vote at all, as just Robert Young would say. Second place would be to write in Gloria Young. Third place would be a robot AI, and then fourth place would be vote third party.
Sure, yeah. You know, I don't know if people are at reject humanity level. I feel like it's like we're just in very partisan, because like that's the thing is like we have like people that I know that were like really, really, really passionate about candidates that didn't make it have kind of settled. They've settled on they've either like there's not as many like super disaffected progressive voters as I might have guessed early on. So it's like people are just really buying into the duopoly, man. Like people are really I think even more so than years past when it's kind of fashionable to be like, man, fuck these people. Like, and I know that fashion because I wear it. Like, there doesn't seem to be a lot of that. I mean, we were even talking about this earlier this week that like the conversations that would normally be like last 4 years ago, we had a thing on PX3 with you and Jeff Kanata,
Yeah.
right? And it was largely a liberal Democrat talking to his like-minded friend who's going to vote third party. And it was
85% overlap in general beliefs. Like we would have to, it wouldn't be too hard to find things we disagree on, but they would be cordial and at the fringes. But overall, the vast majority of things we would agree on.
that you agree. And so effectively the quote unquote like debate was really just like a meditation on voting third party. Right. Like,
Right.
and even 4 years ago, I feel like there was more like a willingness to understand and passionately disagree with that take. Whereas now it's like what you fuck you are ruining everything. You are making it bad. And that's like so yeah, I feel like that means that people are just locked partisan wise. Like they just this is all about being a part of a big hairy team, and you want to be a part of a team, and you got team colors, and it's never been more fashionable to talk about your team colors and why your team colors are really right and the other ones are really really wrong, and everybody else is like, it's not even like people are angry. It's just like it's superfluous. Third parties are just kind of superfluous this time. And so I would think even a super off the beaten path thing, like an open AI thing, people would just be like, whatever. Oh, can we please get back to deciding between Pepsi versus Coke?
So I got a question for you, and it's one that I can't believe nobody's already tried to corner me on. Is one of my justifications for voting third party 4 years ago was that even if we get Trump, what we get is, again, apologies to anybody who thinks I'm picking a side. I don't have a side. I am against the duopoly, so I hate them both. But I also admit that Trump is kind of a garbage, irrational human being. Policy aside, the human is not very good at doing his human job. I justified my third-party vote partly because I hated the trend I had seen in my lifetime of, we talked about the God King thing, right? So I guess here's what I want to revisit is 4 years after that momentous moment, I can't believe nobody's held me to account to be like, how you liking your God King thing now? Like, are you happy that Trump won it? And to be honest, I am kind of happy that nobody respects the office of the presidency the way they did 4 years ago. I'm glad that Congress has grown a pair and kind of limiting what a president could do. And to be honest, I feel like there's even more emasculating that needs to be done for the office of the presidency.
Isn't it kind of weird, though, that part of Biden's campaign is like, can we agree we need a God King again, though?
Right?
Like, can we agree that it was better when there was a God King who was kind of flawless and perfect, and the media loved and airbrushed all of his flaws away? Can we agree we want a God King?
Hey, remember the good old days when the God King would come to town and everyone would freak the fuck out and they'd start weeping when they touched the garment of the God King who came to their small town and bought a beer from their very bar on this very bar seat. Can we get back to those days?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people have been very disrespectful to Trump, which I do think is good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if anything, like my vector is far more on the press, right? And so I actually like, despite the fact, like, I'm to a point where I'm criticizing things that the press are doing, which normally I never do. Like normally it's
You're
like,
breaking the code. You're a rat. You're like,
Yeah.
you're about to get shivved in the press.
well, once, yeah, it's like when normally I'm like, no, go after these people. Like, why are you all just in DC and you all know each other and you all have the same cousin and you always go to the same brunch place? Like the DC press and Capitol Hill people, like they're all best friends. And I'm like, no, go do a thing. And now it's like overdrive. Whenever anybody does any memo that's ever been written internally gets leaked and everything just runs and things run without sourcing. And it's just like wild. And I'm like, oh my God, can we please keep that same energy? Can we please keep that same energy? And I don't suspect we will, but it would be nice. I would like it if everybody kept that same energy and just shredded Biden every second of every day. It would make me happy.
I mean, it
makes me happy when we shred Trump.
I wasn't conscious and around in the 1970s when the press was taking Nixon to task, right? But man, what, like, the press was very emboldened to take Trump to task constantly and nonstop. And that's how it should be for every sitting president. It should be fucking torture from sunup to sundown every goddamn day of their life. Nobody who's sane and rational, only people with a Christ complex, should want to dare to become fucking president. It should be more awful than it already is for Trump.
Yeah. I mean,
for everyone.
I think at the end of the day, if, I can say, all right, journalistically, I think we've probably outstepped our bounds on using anonymous sourcing. That, like, we've crossed into a realm that is usually reserved for like gossip magazines where like a friend can write something for a rumor for $200, right? That being said, that's fine. If like
if that's the cost of doing business
if that's what happens, and it's like, oh, whatever. Like, is it fair? Pfft, fuck no, but I don't care. Like, whatever. We have a long tradition of oppositional press. I don't mind them being oppositional. I will be annoyed if and when we don't get. I mean, we're already kind of seeing it. Like, that like Biden gets the like. Like, I don't know. I think now that we've got this interloper out of here, it's time to go back to normal.
Right.
Everybody
There's a reason I'm called Sleepy Joe Biden. It's because I'm a world-class hypnotist. Now, everybody, focus on my right hand. Person I'm touching right now. When I say now, when I count from 3 to 1, you will vote yes on this legislation.
Yeah. Or, something fucked up happens and the press is like, hey, can you comment on this? And they're like that fucking Bugs Bunny meme where he's just like, no. and the press is like, well, we tried.
Oh, that's amazing. You exactly froze. I don't know if you have audio.
I can hear you.
Oh,
yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, okay, you're back. All right.
Yeah,
that was a great moment, though.
I froze on Russian television today.
Oh, wait. You did more. Sorry. Are we into calling it Russian propaganda, or are we still running from that?
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
They don't pay me. I just come on and do 10-minute hits.
All you do is say, like, I make hits. I show up and I make everybody laugh. I have the best zingers and hell's yeah.
I compared Twitter's leadership to somebody being chased by a gigantic gang of bees. Like, they don't really know what they're doing. They're just kind of running as fast as they can. But yeah, so that was mostly what it was about. Like, they keep calling me back for like tech and politics stories. That seems to be what they see my niche as.
That definitely sounds like the kind of thing a mid-level intern would never get in trouble for doing, given the fact that you're a regular correspondent on Daily Tech News Show and have a show about politics.
And that's, they don't even, God knows that they even know about fucking Daily Tech News Show, but certainly enough of the times that I've come on. Because like the first time I came on, I was on like a panel, like just discussing straight politics. And it was like all the raw, like, just like, hey, this guy said this thing, blah, blah, blah. Like, what do you think? And the last 2 times I've been on, have been on their news show. So they have like a BBC-esque, kind of like straight news thing, and I come on for that, but both times that they've called me for that, it's been like a tech centric thing.
Well, and so was there a particular story they were talking about this time? Or?
Yeah. Boy, even in Russia, the media loves to be. I've realized this today. If it is true that we are all the protagonists in our own story, then it should come as no surprise that the media always wants to dispense with all this other news gathering so they can get to the main character
themselves.
The media.
Yeah.
And so RT, formerly Russia Today.
Wait, they're no longer Russia Today?
Now they KFC'd their own ass.
Boo. I actually have more respect when they're all like, yes, we're fucking Russia. You want to know what Russia thinks? Come to us.
So they had a tweet labeled possible misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a clip about voter fraud, and it was a fairly, I don't know, I found it to be an innocent piece that just compiled a bunch of like, it wasn't even like, oh, there's going to be voter fraud in America. It was like, oh, here are all the times that America has called a foreign election illegitimate. And then here's an outside international organization that says we are ripe for problems now in America. And then bringing in clips of a bunch of people saying, hey, this is going to be a rigged election, including Trump, and then a few other like tiny stories around the country. And it's like, whatever, whether you think it's the smartest and best thing on the planet, it didn't seem to be particularly misleading to me, at least. But that's why they brought me on, so I could talk about RT getting their fucking tweet labeled.
Well, and did they have an expected take? Like, in my imagination, sorry, forgive me, phone rings. Yo, this is J-Dog. What's up? Hello, is friend from other side of country with massive cable television organization. Was wondering, what opinion about tweets labeled untrue?
I'll tell you exactly what it is.
Okay. Would say is unfair?
So number one, I'm in the middle of doing an interview with Chris Cillizza from CNN. Man, a lot of names getting dropped here.
Hello, please hang up with CNN. We know. Yeah. Yes, we know.
So I get a call, which is very, very fun to get a call from Russia. And it just shows up. I now know
Russia calling.
I now know that the +7 area code is or country code is Russia. Russia got in 7th. Look at that. And so I don't pick up because I'm doing an interview. And then I get
because it's Russia. Because it's do not trust. I see.
Then I get a series of WhatsApp messages. Dear Mr. Young, hello. How are you? It's Natalie, a news producer at RT International in Moscow. We would like to ask if you could again participate in a live panel discussion. Today it will be on a situation with Twitter, who labeled our tweet about the U.S. election as misinformation.
Oh man, that's so close to perfect. Only thing I would add as editor-in-chief of your Twitter feed is make sure to mention that you're add the words totally legitimate is from totally legitimate news organization.
Legitimate news organization. I mean, their argument is not because they've been labeled state-funded media, right? And
Sure.
Their argument isn't that they aren't. It's just that, okay, we'll take that label, but why does the BBC not get that label?
Right.
Why does NPR not get that
Right.
label? Why does Voice of America not get that label?
And they're not
Like, if
wrong. I mean, that's
I'm with them. I'm like,
Yeah.
look, if they're not trying to hide it, they're like, yes, we get money from the government, and the government probably has some kind of editorial control. Although I would imagine that it's more along the lines of them not running stories than telling them what to run. Like, it seems to me that they're just following an audience that tends to be either skeptical to anarchist to Trump supporting crowd, and that's what they're following. But then again, every media organization does that.
Well, and man, I suppose that's the same reason I'll listen to RT, is the same reason that I'll listen to Al Jazeera, is the same reason that I'll listen to BBC, is the same reason that I listen to NPR, is the same reason I listen to Rush Limbaugh, is because like the difference between a terrorist and a freedom fighter is what time is it and where are you located?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it was Rush Limbaugh that said the three things that people look for in a political show is entertainment, entertainment, and entertainment. And it's like, that's kind of the same thing with news, and whether or not we want to label ourselves as entertainers. At the end of the day, there is a skill in processing and organizing a news story that makes it interesting to read, and news selection is huge. So it's like, where you get your money, to me, is like less important than the product. Now, if a story gets killed from somebody, like from an organization, that's when you tend to worry about it. But at the same time, it's like, that's kind of the same issue we have with like biases along ideological lines. So
Big Jim in the chat says, Justin, are you taking any money for these appearances? Let me stop you right there. Or is it all for just quote unquote exposure? Also, stop using quotes, because exposure is exposure is exposure. Here's what Justin gets. What he gets is a fucking badass demo reel of him on a legitimately large presence in media, whether or not you consider them legitimate, whatever that means, given hot takes and cool fakes. Dude, that's all anybody gets out of it. And also, there's no quote unquote exposure. There's only exposure. Now, whether or not you're able to convert that into attention, which is the real currency. Exposure is a billboard that nobody looks at. Attention is the catchy joke on the billboard that is stuck in your mind that you can't help but tell at 2:00 in the afternoon later that day. So in that regard, like, there's no such thing as fake exposure. There's only exposure.
Okay, yeah. So no, everything that Brian said is correct. And to be honest, I'll do free spots on RT whenever, because it's 10 minutes out of my day and I have the ability to build my brand, right? Like, whatever it is, like, I get the chance to play on their platform and do whatever I do there, and that gives me access that now I am in the minor leagues that I can go do other stuff. I would think twice if RT came to me and said, "Hey, we love your shit. Can we pay you as a regular contributor, and now you'll come on all these different shows
and get a
whatever,"
stipend for every appearance or whatever.
Which that does happen with CNN and Fox and MSNBC. I'd think about it twice, because that's where you begin to get into a situation where they can say, "We don't really like that take. Like, we're not telling you what to think or what to say, but this other guy's already saying that." And once I'm part of the team, I'm a team player.
Yeah.
If they're bringing me in and they're telling me to come on Skype, and then, like, literally the only prep I get is they're like, "Hey, what is your opinion on this story?" So here, I'll read exactly what it is. "Can I ask your short stance so we can prepare questions to set it up?" And I just said, "My stance is that Twitter is scared by accusations that they helped get Trump elected in 2016, and now they're arbitrarily adding labels and rules as they go along." She said, "Thank you." And that was it.
And that's just to deconstruct that real quick. In general, if your hot take was, guess who's a bad boat captain? Everybody at Twitter. Guess who guess who is constantly turning from the last iceberg they ran into
Yeah.
by overcorrecting left and right? That's Twitter. I don't think that's particularly controversial.
Now, meanwhile, but I don't think if I said Twitter was totally right to label you, and if I were at Twitter, I would have banned RT, that she would have been like, all right, well, you're not coming on. I don't think so. I don't get that sense. I think that they would have wanted a fight, a fight on air, because that's good.
Do you think that they would have refused to let you on air if during all of the pre-interviews you did it in the voice of Captain Morgan? Like, how long until?
I'm watching the tweet now, but my stance is that Twitter's scared by the accusations that they helped Trump get elected in 2016. And now they're patrolling adding labels and rules as they go along.
My old buddy Jeep Drop, he said,
my old friend Jeep Drop said, I'm gonna fucking run Twitter. And I said, what's on Twitter? And he said, you'll see, you shithead. My new name's Jack Dorsey. I'm growing a fucking beard and putting in my fucking nose ring for Congress.
I tried to interrupt him. He said, can't hear you meditating currently. I'm
starving on an island or some shit. I don't even know. My name is Cheap Chop Jack Dorsey. That's who I am. I run Twitter. I love it. I fucking love it. I'm going to give myself the chance to write 281.
That's right. Only me, though. Only me. 280. The last character will always be an emoji that says, fuck you.
Yeah, I'm going to make myself a custom emoji that says, fuck you, everybody. I'm Jeep Drop Jack Dorsey.
Fuck you,
and
Doug.
I own this motherfucker. It's all for me. And it's going to be in very small font.
Or maybe a Russian flag crying. I haven't decided yet. It's tough. Russian flag with a cheer emoji coming to Twitter soon. That's all I tweet from now on.
Why don't you cry in your borscht, you big fucking babies?
Oh, I'm so sorry. We'll take your tears and we'll divide them equally according to their need. How about that? Fuck you.
Your Captain Morgan's getting progressively more Irish.
Like, you've discovered me, have you? It's me, the fuck you man.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. So you feeling better? I think you're recovered from whatever the fuck.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think I ate some garbage. I think I threw up. I think I didn't sleep well. I think I had a sleepy next day, and then I think I
rocking and rolling.
Yeah, and rocking and rolling, golfing and bowling.
How are your rock speakers? They going good?
That might still be a sensitive topic. I haven't brought up the courage to check them out.
That's not so good, Al.
I mean, look, if only there was an Ig Nobel award-winning study about whether or not one of my rocks was hotter than the other, then I could find out some real shit.
Oh shit! One of my rocks. Forgot about the fucking off
testicle
heat nuts.
Yeah,
the off heat nuts.
Talking about heat nuts, let's talk about heatin'.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta tell you, he did that Judge Week, and because I didn't have any pre-existing ideas about any of the judges that he had on, I was like, yeah, no, tell me about jurisprudence from, explain to me originalist versus, living document or whatever. I'm having a harder time going through listening to everybody running for president, even though I know I should, because I'm sure they all have ideas. Like, I didn't listening to the Green Party, easy, right? Listening to Libertarian Party, even if I suspect I know most of this, I'll listen to it. Like when we're in the weeds of what is it? Constitutional Party and what's the other one? The Allegiance Party or something with
Alliance
the Alliance Party, right? I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, how different can they all be? like I'm sure you've got different ideas.
Well, are you aware of who Don Blankenship is?
I am not, but from the chat's reaction, I should be.
All right, somebody get the Don Blankenship ads into the chat because we're gonna spend the rest of this happy hour watching at least one or two of the Don Blankenship ads.
Done and done.
But back in 2018, in West Virginia, Don Blankenship was running for the Republican nomination to run against Joe Manchin, who's a Democrat that is basically a Republican in West Virginia. It's complicated. But long story short, Don Blankenship running for the Republican role in West Virginia. And he's running as an opposition to the guy who runs the Republicans in the Senate now, Mitch McConnell. So it's a little complicated, but follow along with me.
Okay.
During his ads, you have to understand that he has a very... Did you listen to the Blankenship interview that Heaton did?
No.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, like that's sort of what spurned everything. It was like, this sounds like homework. And it's sounding less and less like homework by the second.
Well, unfortunately, Heaton did not know who this man was when he spoke to him. But he did add a preamble after I educated him.
Okay.
But Don Blankenship has a very laconic voice. And he kind of has like this music in the back that sort of sounds like, I'm Tom Bodett from Motel 6. You know, sometimes you're trying to fuck a hooker and you have nowhere to go. But thanks to Motel 6, we'll leave the light on for you.
Right. And it's a red light. And also, you don't need to turn on the red light. Roxanne. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, if you see a red door and you want to paint it black, you probably shouldn't because you don't own the door.
Yeah,
but you can get a good night's sleep in a Motel 6.
The deposit will be more than the $6 you expect. All right, here we go. Here's Don Blankenship. Here we go.
I'm Don Blankenship, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Swamp Captain Mitch McConnell has created millions of jobs for China people.
That's right. I think we did cover this, and this is where we heard about Cocaine Mitch, I believe, for the first time. Okay,
this has gotten rich. In fact, his China family has given him tens of millions of dollars. Mitch's swamp people are now running false negative ads against me. They are also childishly calling me despicable and mentally ill. The war to drain the swamp and create jobs for West Virginia people has begun. I will beat Joe Manchin and ditch Cocaine Mitch for the sake of the kids.
I will beat him with these children.
I will beat him with these 2 babies.
It turns out they're tied together at the legs, and he starts doing nunchuck shit.
So it's last Friday. It's a week ago after this happy hour that I'm going on my cigar walk that is now festooned with a visiting Heaton, and he's like, "Yeah, I just had a great chat with a man named Don Blankenship," and I'm like, the fuck you talking about? You talked to Don Blankenship, and he's like, oh, you know him. And I'm like, Cocaine Mitch? You don't know Cocaine Mitch? China family? West Virginia people? Like, you don't know this
China
shit?
people versus West Virginia people.
And then he has another ad where he's like, they said I blew up, the government blew up my coal mine. Then they put me in jail. Now they're saying that I blew up the coal mine. And you're like, what the fuck are you even talking about, dude? Like, yeah, it's wild. And apparently, and I forgot this, but after we got obsessed with Don Blankenship in 2018, I got an email from somebody who worked as a secretary for him back in the day and said that he was by and large a very, very nice man. He's a very good boss, but, and Brian, you might be able to appreciate this, he was not a good sleeper.
Okay.
So what do people who are not great sleepers often take so they can get to sleep better?
This dude fucking high on the Ambien?
And he was prone, as sometimes I would get calls from Brian and I would be on the phone with Brian for 30 minutes. I would then talk to Brian the next day and ask him about some of the stuff that we talked about. And he would have no idea because that's what fucking Ambien
that's early
does.
Days. Modern day Brian fucking writes himself an email giving the exact time at which he locked his phone in a freezer and gives instructions on how to handle in every contact that happened. Like, I learned you don't mess around with that shit.
So Don Blankenship apparently was also prone to doing things. In my experience, I've never taken Ambien myself, but all my friends that have, everybody just does stuff they normally do, muscle memory stuff. And sometimes that is like you have enough brain function to write an email. Or a friend of mine used to make playlists. She would make herself ambient playlists. So Don Blankenship would write emails to his secretary. And one of them, by and large, they were just harmless. It was usually dumb stuff or even just repeating stuff that he had already said. But one of them was just alpacas. Just alpacas. No more, no less. That's all you need.
All right. Are we certain this isn't like an autocorrect thing where it's like you just sort of mash the keys together and then Siri's like, I don't know, alpacas? Is that what you're saying?
All right, let me see if I can find this.
Oh my God.
Okay, here we go. I found the email. I'm a little behind on the eps, but I just heard the Don Blankenship discussion. I wanted to give you a little info that you might find interesting. My office just hired the ex-personal executive assistant for Blankenship a few weeks ago. She worked for him for many years, and she likes to tell stories about her old job, most of which I believe. Blankenship likes to flaunt his money for the benefit, From my understanding, she was telling me a couple days about how he would dictate messages and then follow through with his needs. I'm sure that most are normal, but she mentioned a single incident that cracked me up. One morning, she was checking messages, and he had left one early in the morning that just said, "Get alpacas." I'm not sure what happened. I'm sure what happened was he saw one of those late night infomercials for alpacas, and either through alcohol or ambient induced fog, decided he needed to get them.
Sorry. Is there a late night is this a thing? Late night commercials for alpacas?
Fuck if I know. I guess. I don't know.
All right.
When she asked him about it the next morning, he said, "Do you know anything about alpacas?" And of course she didn't. So he said, "You need to learn about them. This is a that's the end of the sentence. This is a coal company exec assistant having to do research on alpacas and start an alpaca petting zoo for the employees based off a late night infomercial." Oh shit, I even forgot about this. So this was not necessarily an ambient thing. He literally just said, "Get alpacas." Came in the next morning and was like, "Hey shit, did you get on that alpacas thing?" And she's like, "No."
So in this case, her crime was not believing him when he just texted, "Get alpacas."
Just get alpacas. And then he showed up, and then she had to research alpacas because he wanted to make a petting zoo for the kids, the children of the employees of this coal mine.
Holy cow.
So there we go. I guess
again, not for nothing.
Story,
he really does look like he's about to throw those children at you, right?
He kind of looks like, you know, those videos of people in Russia where like they take their kids and they're just kind of like,
oh sure, dangling
swinging them around
yeah.
and dangling them. I guess like to toughen them up or whatever.
Yeah,
like it looks like he's about to do that.
They look a lot like Callie. It's like he's
one of them does. The one on the right.
Yeah.
The one on the right? Like
Yep.
She looks a lot like that's a Callie face. That's definitely a Callie face.
Yeah.
White children.
5 days? 5 days. 5 days, right? We got this. 5 days. 4 days?
Right? We're already, 4 and change, right?
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So.
Yeah.
And by the way, Texas already passed 100% the 2016 vote.
Yeah, I heard that. That's kookaburra. So, game plan for the night? You're just going to stream nonstop? Is that something? Do you have like a friendly friends and family open lines for anybody to call in, or are you like full in gig
We'd
mode?
love to have you on.
Okay.
No, we'd love to have you on. If you would like to be on, just let me know so I just know time wise, like when. Because I'm going to be kind of spinning all the plates here.
You're kind of hosting
myself.
a big ass party. Like, so will Heaton be there with you, or?
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay.
I don't know what the fuck else he'd be doing.
All right. Well, then I'll let you know, and I don't mind. Use or don't use me to whatever extent works for you.
I would love to do it. The only thing that I got to figure out is because we are like I have these 2 sets. Basically.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm on the big set where I can like walk around and do things and be telegenic, then I'm not here. And unfortunately, we don't live in a world. Any other time, I would just find somebody to pay to come over and fucking TD for a night, right? And
but instead, you need a synthetic android that can't be infected with a genetic virus.
Exactly. And there are some remote things that I can do in terms of switching. There are not remote things I can do in terms of the analog parts of like, adjusting audio levels and shit like that. So if you're going to call in, then it just means me running to the TD side and changing stuff. But it's totally, as long as I know when you're coming on, it'll be no problem.
What do you suppose in terms of not what direction the narrative goes, but the timing of the narrative? For example, 4 years ago, it was fairly noteworthy that it's like it was late into the night and it seemed like we had a decisive, if surprising, result. Do you feel like, everyone's going to gear up, or it's like, who knows where it could go? And then 30 minutes in, you're like, oh, I guess we know. like, is it going to be one of those, or is it going to be?
Possibly, because the way that this is going to happen is we are going to know very quickly in like Florida where things are.
Mhm.
And if Joe Biden is dominating on the level that some of his polling suggests.
I mean, basically what? Pennsylvania, if Pennsylvania and Florida early on go Biden, it's all over.
Pennsylvania, yeah. Well, Trump needs Florida. Biden needs Pennsylvania. So if Biden loses Pennsylvania, then he's in a load of shit.
Right.
If Trump loses Florida, he's in a load of shit.
Right.
Like those are kind of like the like touch blue or touch red, make it true for either campaign. The difference is that Pennsylvania is not legally allowed to process or count ballots until election day, mail-in ballots.
Oh, wild. So even if they have them, they can't quietly have been doing their work ahead of time. They have to begin it the day of.
Legally, they can only do it on the day of. Florida has been both processing and counting up till now.
And selling and buying and using them to roll their joints. Thank you, Florida.
Basically. Well, once you've already counted them, what else
what else?
do?
It's called recycling, bro. Come on.
What am I going to do? Go to the fucking Winn-Dixie? Like, yeah. So, what is likely to happen is that as soon as Central Time rolls around, because Florida is partly in the Panhandle, so they don't report like full results until things close in the Panhandle, then you're probably going to get the entire Florida thing at once. Like, that'll be that. Like, so if Biden wins, then it could be a route. Like, the route could be on right.
So really, if Biden is already expected to win Pennsylvania, and then we see, him immediately come in with Florida hot and heavy, I mean, I assume the smart money is on and it's already over before it began.
Basically, it's like Trump kind of needs to not only win in the Southeast, in a vulnerable Southeast, which is the wild swinging dick that is Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina. If he can't win those three, he's already in trouble. Otherwise, you now go into the Midwest and you're talking about Ohio, where Trump looks the best, Pennsylvania, which again, if he gets Pennsylvania, now Biden's really in trouble. And then it's Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. And if right now Biden is running way ahead in all three of those states, so we'll see, and then you look out west to Arizona. But then again, the big thing that is, the Democratic wet dream is your Lone Star state of Texas, for which
I don't know,
forever dreams in bluish hues.
I'd say in the only poll that matters, the driving from HQ to my house poll, which of course, as you know, is based on road signs, yard signs. The latest polling has 8 Trump signs to what earlier reports had as 3 Biden signs. It has since been discovered that one of those 3 Biden signs was actually a joke sign for the Wu-Tang Clan. So that is the
really?
latest.
What'd it
Yes,
say?
yes. It says presidents are temporary, Wu-Tang is forever. So that's the latest in the hottest poll.
Yeah, and for the record, that's where the Biden votes come from.
Is the
like
Wu-Tang
Austin.
Clan?
No,
Okay.
yeah. No, although did you see Lil Wayne endorse Trump yesterday?
I did not see that. I saw him in the headlines. I didn't know why. That's amazing.
No, Wheezy F baby, and the F stands for Fox News.
Oh.
Apparently, yeah, he endorsed Trump. Like I said on Twitter, whoever's programming this fucking bizarre simulation we're living in, never let it be said that they didn't have moxie.
I do have one update on a beloved subject on twitter.com/wood that we've talked about a bit on this show. The dragon is back out because it's Halloween, right?
Yes.
Did you see that the wind blew over our dragon?
I think I remember a little bit, but please refresh my memory.
Well, we put the dragon back out, and yesterday was very, very blustery, so the wind flipped over the dragon. And so I fixed it. Insofar as the way I fixed it was I wrote on a piece of cardboard, "free belly rubs," and then left the dragon on its back. And then as I was putting it out, somebody walking their kid was just like, "Oh, thank goodness it's back. Oh man, that dragon, it's the best." And it's like, I'm so happy it's back.
Whoever narked on you, fuck them. You were bringing nothing but joy to that neighborhood.
Still am.
Yeah,
That dragon
and now
ain't
you're
going
back.
nowhere.
Thank God, yeah.
That dragon is
Well,
going to
'cause-
be up in a tree next. It's going to be swinging from tree to tree perpetually.
Holy shit. I'm so glad that it's back.
Yeah. Although you could see that it spent a bunch of time in the backyard, which is the south-facing side of the house. So it's been
fade a little
bleached.
bit?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could kind of see the face is all bleached, and you could see that the one side is all nastied up. But okay, so what are things that we wish for everyone over the weekend? What are some happy thoughts, some happy places we could be before we all have to fight again?
Yeah, the weather should be good in a lot of, at least in the places that are hot, the weather should be good now. I think it's snowing in some places, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It's been like 65 degrees last couple of days. Outside of the wind, it's been lovely. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do for Thanksgiving, because I think what we're going to do is figure that Thanksgiving Day plus or minus 3 days, there has to be one day in that zone where it's going to be pretty nice outside. And then what we'll do is we could do an outside Thanksgiving, and everybody can show up and be socially distant or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of funny because like we have various relatives that are various levels of fed up with staying at home, regardless of their age or, any of that stuff. And yes, I am aware that in general, I shouldn't be too worried about the kids. Yes, I know Bonnie and I are largely considered to be immune. By the way, latest news in 5 months of expected immunity.
That was, the updated CDC stuff, right?
Yeah. And so, but I think we're just going to shift the day that we celebrate Thanksgiving to some day that we can all be outside.
Yeah. That's smart. I don't know what we're going to do, man. But I do know that this weekend, Mandalorian's back. People have already seen it.
Have you? I tweeted it out. Did I happen to share with you the Cowboy Bebop inspired "If Mandalorian Was an Anime" video?
I think I saw you tweet it, but I have not. I have not watched it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's got like we don't need to watch it, but like it's got like a faux Cowboy Bebop song to it, and it's just got that slick production value that it looks to me like if you told me this was a new animated cartoon on Disney Plus, I would totally believe it.
Yeah.
But so are you watching tonight? Are you holding off? Are you saving it like a treat?
No, we'll probably watch it tonight. We just ran out of Fargo. So we're now up to date with the newest season of Fargo, and Yeah.
Like up
That's,
to the latest episode.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
one of the ongoing discussions we've been having about Fargo on Cord Killers is I have felt like in previous seasons there's been a pretty clear who's supposed to be us in the story. Somebody who is a regular Joe who, whether out of revenge, spite, opportunity for money, is tempted and steps outside of their comfort zone, and then everything goes to hell. This one seems more like a chess match where like everybody's a player, and Tom's take is that the teenage girl is supposed to be us, but
I think so as well. Although I would say for the thrust of the story, where Jason Schwartzman's character is also
that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Like that's somebody who was thrust into a position of leadership before he was ready for it, and I'm kind of rooting for him. Whereas Tom's take was he's rooting for Lloyd, Chris Rock's character, and I'm like, rooting for him to do what? He's already won, and he's a winner. And if anything, we're watching him just sort of fracture at the sides as he's dealing with a bunch of bullcrap. Whereas, like, what's his name? Fada Losto is it Losto? I think that's Josto.
I don't know any of the fucking names.
Yeah, I don't either. I think it's Josto. But
there's Jason Schwartzman, Chris Rock, the closest physical incarnation I've ever seen to Bowser from Mario.
Yes. Raylan from
Raylan, yeah, fucking wholesome Raylan, and then the couple that runs the
morticians,
the morticians, their daughter, and then stock Fargo character. There's always a stock Fargo character, and this one. It's cool because she's also the villain. What I really kind of think is interesting about this season, and not necessarily for the best, is that like there's usually a scheme or like the ripple that kind of like continues to go. And I guess the ripple that continues to go is the death of the older mob boss at the beginning, but like everything's so sort of disconnected that like I'm having a hard time having this season really get into sort of like the same kind of like a critical mass that Fargo seasons in the past have.
I agree. And having said all of that, all kudos and all respect to what's his name, Noah Hawley, like for fantastic cinematography. It's a treat to watch and to process. It's just in terms of character story, previous seasons have really. There's at least been one character that I'm like, ooh, I don't know. I could almost, but do I wish he, and I don't really have that. I like at this point so far, the teenage girl I felt like has been largely powerless, hasn't really faced any big decisions. Josto is probably the most challenging in that, like I'm rooting for him to develop as a leader, but pretty sure he's gonna die in the vice between Wario and Chris Rock.
Yeah, it's we ran out of episodes of the new season, so we realized that we had never actually watched the first season. We wound up starting with the second one, so we had never seen the first one.
First season's great.
So we watched the first one, and it is fucking great. But like that's one of those. It's one of those great stories where you just never knew exactly where it was going to go. All the characters felt consistent, but never made the exact same decisions. Like there was like one constant, and that was Billy Bob Thornton is
awesome.
Like just a malevolent, highly competent force. Like he has untethered himself from society, and now he is just marauding and doing whatever the fuck he wants. And there's that great scene with him and Colin Hanks where he gets pulled over and just fucking like, terrifies him to the point where he just drives off. And it makes that jump in the middle of the season that much more amazing, because you just kind of see like, oh no, like this is inevitable. All of our characters' destinies are inevitable. But yeah, I think at that point, everything in that first season was always heightening, always like more. Like, and here I don't like, I was excited about the idea of them just doing a straight out mob war story, but like,
Right. I'd sign up for Fargo, the Wire edition, or Fargo, whatever.
yeah, this is like Sopranos
Yeah.
or Goodfellas or any of these like kind of like mob, like, so it's like, oh, mob war stories are all kind of the same. It's like, hey, there's an uneasy alliance, and then either it's a power play or it's, something like that, but one guy kills one guy and then somebody kills somebody up the chain, and everyone's hoping that eventually somebody blinks and nobody blinks, and now it totally, gets torn asunder. But I was expecting with Fargo that maybe there'd be like some scheme in the middle of it, and there really is not a scheme in the middle of it. It really just is kind of this like mob war story that I'm like, oh, okay, well, we get it. And like the deaths are impactful. Like the storytelling is good. I like all the characters. I just don't know exactly what I'm rooting for. And I don't, and I think you're right. Maybe what the feeling that I have yet to put into words is that I can't really imprint
Like
on
I know
anybody.
exactly. I mean, we were all Martin Freeman in the first season. I forget which one was second season, but we were all Ewan McGregor versus Ewan McGregor, like the dipshit twin versus the successful one. Fucking like I could feel that temptation, and I was along for the ride. Jesse Plemons in Over His Head could totally relate to that.
Yeah.
What was the one in the 70s?
Yeah.
It
was good.
Yes,
I remember it was
they
good.
were all good, but and there was always an anchor, a character that I was like, ooh, what am I? I mean, he or she or whoever going to be next,
Yeah. Oh, was it Jesse Plemons?
In the
Was Jesse
70s.
Plemons in the
Wow,
70s
yeah.
one? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like there's just not like, as soon as you realize that the malevolent force in this season, which I do love that trope. I love the trope that it's like, no, every Fargo just has this unhinged, terrifying
Ghost
like
of evil.
person.
Yeah.
Like, and you realize who that is in this season, and you're like, okay, but like, I don't know, she hasn't really cracked in a way that like makes her super dangerous. Like, or we haven't put like there's less of there's a fox in the hen house in the way that like there have been in past seasons where like our fox was kind of like always in the background, just kind of waiting. There's also the fact that it's like we're in a season where there's like 50 foxes. There's like no hens. I guess
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like to me, what makes Fargo is a hen who thinks maybe they're a fox and finds out very decisively that they're not. They should have stayed a hen. That's the morality of every single Fargo everything. And this is nothing but foxes. Even the teenager is well, if I say she's a fox, then.
Well, sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but everybody is kind of an aggressor. Everybody is kind of like, we have aggressors within the aggressor camps that are aggressing against each other.
Yeah.
And then there's the fact that.
Go on. Say it. Say it.
One of my favorite scenes in the Royal Tenenbaums is when they're talking about Luke Wilson's character, and they're just like, he failed to develop as an artist, and they just show like a bunch of his like shitty drawings like side by side. Chris Rock.
Okay, can we? God, look, I know we're already long on this, but I kept waiting for him to be anyone but other than Chris Rock. Still Chris Rock. Still Chris Rock. He's still Chris Rock.
And that's the thing, is it's such a kind of meaty role that you just kind of think of other actors and you're like, okay, I get why they cast Chris Rock. I understand. In a way, I almost think he would have been a better Dr. Senator.
Oh, he would have been amazing as that.
Like, because you got a couple like monologue-y sort of things that Chris Rock could have. Obviously, he's a fucking iconic monologuist.
He would have put some spice on the Dr. Senator character. He would be temperate, but in a way where you could tell it's only because that's the only way to keep his rage in check,
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think he would have been a better supporting role than
because like it's just his range is just not quite there. Like there are scenes where he's supposed to be very, very, very angry and he's kind of a little bit more restrained. And maybe he breaks through and maybe there's one moment where everything kind of snaps together. But up till now, it's not that he's bad.
It's just that
like,
he's Chris Rock. And I was able to forget that it was Martin Freeman. I was able to forget that it's Billy Bob Thornton. I was able to forget. Never been able to forget that it's Chris Rock. Not for 1 second.
And it also doesn't help that like a lot of the dialogue is very how a 2020 person would imagine a 1950 person talking, like where it's like every conversation is like, we suffer from historic inequality. And I swear that in a bunch of years, people will look back at this time and they'll know that there was historic inequality right now in this moment that we're in as we're speaking as 1950s people. And it's not to say that I'm sure that everybody didn't know what the score was back then. I just don't know if they would have brought it up on such a meta level as we would in talking about it in the past. And that has like been a barrier to me fully kind of throwing myself into the time period when they're having these monologues that are very much, here's why we're doing a story about the 50s. Look at historical oppression, which is fine. Look, but I just think we're going to get that no matter what, because we're telling a story about Black people who are struggling for power in the 50s.
Yeah. All right, dude. We went long even. Good times.
Bonus shit.
Congratulations, world. We'll have a new democratically elected leader of the free world that I'm sure everybody will feel great about. Congrats, us.
Well, also, we'll have 2 episodes before that. Or one episode before that.
Whatever, man. I'm already counting. Like, I'm already living in the future.
It's already done.
It's all right. Here we go.
Happy hour. Happy hour. Natty Tax Happy Hour.